Good morning, folks. Welcome into the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. I am Cam Rogers. Happy Friday. It's 10 o'clock Eastern Time on the East Coast. We thank you for tuning into this program. We've got you covered for the next hour. A lot to get through here. The latest across the LeBron James sweepstakes. Where is he headed? The Lakers, the 76ers, a lot of rumors there surrounding the King. Plus, I've got my top 10 NBA mock draft. Luka Doncic, is he going #1 overall? No, he is not. I'll tell you who will at the 10-minute mark. Then, 3 teams that could trade for LeBron in the summer of 2018. Rockets included, and a couple of other big-time teams, plus the latest NBA rumors. And then Mitchell Renz at the end of the show will join me with his top 5 fantasy running backs for the 2018 NFL season, as all of you guys get your FanDuel games ready to go for the U.S. Open, World Cup, and so much more. All right, folks, Cam Rogers with you. Let's get into it. The latest LeBron James rumors. We'll start things off with what Charles Barkley said recently. Now, Barkley has been vocal about LeBron James not going to the Philadelphia 76ers. He recently doubled down on that, saying that it doesn't make sense for LeBron or the Sixers. So both sides, it just does not add up. Now, Barkley said he's not coming to the Sixers because he needs the ball. Also added, quote, Ben Simmons needs the ball, and Joel Embiid needs the ball. That would make Simmons useless. But, Charles, I'm going to counteract what you're saying here, my man, because Chris Broussard recently said that LeBron James is willing to play off the ball. So, not really sure where you're going for here, because Ben Simmons should control the ball. There's no doubt about that. And if LeBron does go to the 76ers, and he is willing to play off the ball, LeBron is understanding that he's not getting any younger, and so more responsibility on Ben Simmons, who is, of course, the face of that 76ers franchise. You got Joel Embiid as well. Probably would be the best rim protector in LeBron James's career if he were to go there. And Barkley's saying that LeBron would hurt Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I just don't get the premise behind that. And trust me, I am not the guy who is saying that LeBron will go to the 76ers. You guys know how I feel. I think he's going to the LA Lakers. And Barkley's opinion certainly hasn't stopped Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz from doing a little recruiting as well, because apparently he has been a part of the fold too. He and Zach Ertz actually went to Game 4 of the NBA Finals in Cleveland. Ertz said they were in Cleveland to actually recruit LeBron James. Wentz also said, quote, but seeing him live, we decided to make it a recruiting trip. So the Eagles didn't get a chance to actually speak with LeBron James, and Wentz said, hopefully he knows we were there. Everybody is pulling out all the stops to get the King to their respective city. Will he join the 76ers? Let me know in the comments section. I'll be tracking what you guys say here on the show. But in terms of LeBron going to Philadelphia, as of now, they sit as the second best landing spot if you're going by the Vegas odds right now. The Lakers are still in front. The Rockets are in the conversation as well. You got the San Antonio Spurs up there, the Boston Celtics too. These are up to the second Vegas odds. Lakers, followed by the 76ers, Cavs, Rockets, and Spurs. Now, I use one source. You could use another source. Some sources are saying that the Lakers are even money right now. You know, it really depends. But the Lakers are the top slot among the consensus out there, according to Vegas. So don't forget about the Spurs, too, folks. Honestly, I think there's a very real chance that they could land LeBron James. All right, folks, so a debate in the studio here this morning. What kind of smartphone do you guys carry? Are you an iPhone person? Are you an Android person? Hashtag team no iPhone. Hashtag team iPhone. I am team iPhone here on the broadcast. But one thing we can all just be in favor of, FanDuel. We're all team FanDuel, so it's a trick question. It doesn't really matter what phone service, what type of phone you have. Does not matter, because either way, you can go to FanDuel.com/chatsports, download on the mobile device that you have today. It's an awesome week to sign up on FanDuel. You got the World Cup U.S. Open. And new players play for real cash while you learn the ropes. No experienced players allowed. FanDuel.com/chatsports is the way to get it done. This is the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. One more time, FanDuel.com/chatsports. $10 free when you deposit $5. Be sure to hit me up as well. Let me know that you joined. We certainly appreciate when I hear from you. All right, let's continue along here with the latest LeBron James rumors. How about momentum for LeBron to the LA Lakers? So, Lakers owner Jeannie Buss tweeted, "Do not ever underestimate." And then she did the 3 dots to space it out. Nothing else to say. So, yeah, very interesting here. So, you'll see on the graphic there, little space for, I guess, dramatic effects. So she didn't really provide any more context in regards to that tweet, but a lot of people like to write off the LA Lakers for LeBron James just because, well, they're not ready to win a championship right now. Well, if LeBron goes to LA and so does Paul George, and they both can in free agency, no trades need to happen because the Lakers have 2 max slots to use. And then you have a good young core in Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma and Josh Hart and all these players, Brandon Ingram as well. Of course they can contend for a title. Now everybody's saying, well, LeBron's not going to the West. Well, why would you just say that? Because a lot of people out there are saying that the Houston Rockets make a lot of sense as well. So the Lakers have the most projected cap space. I mentioned the good young core that they have. As long as Lonzo and Kyle Kuzma continue to try to get along here, because the Lakers reportedly said, hey, tone it down with the social media jabs. I'll get to that in a matter of moments here. But you better believe there's momentum for LeBron to the LA Lakers. I'm telling you, it makes so much sense from many different perspectives. Business, afterlife when he retires, the salary cap space that they have, and the big-time market of LA. It just makes sense for LeBron. Now, with that, how about LeBron to Denver and the Nuggets? So the rumor about this is former NBA point guard Earl Boykin said Denver is a viable option for LeBron James. Boykin said, quote, "The Nuggets have young pieces LeBron wants around him." Okay, well, one young piece is 23-year-old center Nikola Jokic, and he's a good player. And that was kind of the basis of Boykin's argument, saying James likes Jokic because he's big and can shoot and he can handle the basketball and he can pass. Now, re-signing Jokic to a longer contract would increase the chances that LeBron signs with the Nuggets by 35 to 40%, according to Boykins. 35 to 40%. So I guess if you kind of just scour the headlines, keep it right here on the Cam Rogers Show and NBA Weekly here by Chat Sports about re-signing Jokic, apparently LeBron James' stock to Denver could skyrocket. Now, Denver would also have to reconstruct their roster with LeBron coming to town, as most teams would, unless you're like the LA Lakers. So keep that in mind as well. All right, speaking of those Lakers and Lonzo Ball in particular, so Lonzo released a diss track called Kylie Kuzma to roast Kyle Kuzma. We have some of the audio for you guys. We will play it for you. Here it is.
Who are you without CO2? Just another dude with a bunch of tattoos. You ain't got no shoe, Nike wins, Cools lose, claiming that I can't shoot, but all these words is hitting you. Boy, you talking crazy, why you trying to play me? You ain't on my level, you ain't famous as my baby.
At one point in the song, they're making fun of Kuzma for not knowing who his father is, and this roasting between the two has been going on for quite some time. I think this is kind of a whole new level here. I mean, social media jabs are one thing, but actually going ahead through the effort, writing a song, recording a song, releasing it on all the services out there, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, is like a whole nother deal here. So the Lakers also asked Ball and Kuzma to actually turn down the social media jabs at each other, and the Lakers have increasingly grown concerned about this. And if you want to talk about LeBron James going to the Lakers, He doesn't want to see that kind of thing. He wants team chemistry. He wants cohesion. And when you see two young stars, potential stars, I guess you could say, going at it with each other, LeBron's going to sit here and be like, all right, do I want to jump into this circus? So maybe that's why the Lakers are like, all right, Lonzo, Kuzma, let's tone it down here, boys. We're trying to get Paul George and LeBron James here to this franchise. Can you not jab at each other and make it seem like it's pretty darn serious? Because that song was like a little over the top, if you ask me, and that's just kind of my opinion on that. So this does certainly factor into how the Lakers are the favorites, and you know they will continue to be the favorites, but something to just keep in mind here, because LeBron James would already have to deal with LeVar Ball. Let's keep that in mind as well. So if he has to deal with team jabs like this, maybe the Lakers don't appear as attractive to him than we originally thought. So will this feud impact LeBron James going to the Lakers? Be sure to let me know in comments on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. All right, folks, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. All right, June 21st, it's the NBA Draft at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. It's time for my top 10 mock draft. So let's do it. Number 1 on the board, the Phoenix Suns will select Deandre Ayton, the center out of Arizona. A little local flavor going from the Wildcats of Zona right to the Phoenix Suns. He averaged 20 points and 11.6 rebounds in 33.5 minutes per game last season. Flashed a field goal percentage of 61.2. Helped the Wildcats to a Pac-12 regular season title and the Pac-12 tournament title, which I guess you could make the argument doesn't really mean much because the Pac-12 was god-awful in basketball last year, but I digress. You could make the argument DeAndre Ayton belongs here solely because of the physical gifts. And that's what I'm banking on with the Phoenix Suns getting this guy. This guy could be a franchise type of player. And I understand the whole Luka Doncic this and Luka Doncic that. DeAndre Ayton is going number 1 overall in the 2018 NBA Draft. That I firmly believe. The ceiling for this guy is superstardom. And if I am the GM of the Phoenix Suns, I want superstardom kind of potential. Even if I have to wait a little, because look, the Phoenix Suns are not going to contend next year for a title, for the playoffs, whatever. So play the long game here, and I'll talk about the long game with a couple other teams as well. So do you need an elite athletic center to win a title in the NBA? Of course not. But Ayton can become, like I said, the poster boy of this franchise, perhaps give it some identity. He does need to polish his defensive skill set a little bit, may need some coaching up, but the sky is the limit, and I want the upside. Now, keep in mind that the Suns could also trade out of this number 1 slot, which I think is a very real possibility. But let's not forget that the Suns owner, Robert Sarver, is a prominent Arizona booster and alum. So keep that top of mind when you're watching the NBA Draft right here on Chat Sports, because DeAndre Ayton at number 1 overall makes a lot more sense to me than, say, a Luka Doncic, a Marvin Bagley. Speaking of Bagley, let's go to number 2 here in my mock draft. The Sacramento Kings will indeed get the power forward center out of Duke. And in all honesty, there's an argument to be made that Marvin Bagley belongs atop this board. It's a popular argument out there among many analysts, and I could certainly buy into that too. I could totally see Bagley going number 1 overall. But this guy, overall, fantastic player, really overpowered people at Duke, which is something he obviously cannot do with ease in the NBA level. That we just have to get out of the window there. Like, Bagley towered over people at Duke and in the college ranks. Once he goes to the NBA, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, as it will be with every NBA rookie out there. Future all-star potential, though, but I do understand the folks who may be a little worried about him just in terms of transitioning from the college ranks into the NBA. But this is a guy who averaged 21 points, 11 rebounds as a freshman on a really good ACC team. Does need to improve his defensive ability a little bit and his physicality. and perhaps kind of expand his offensive skill set here. But in terms of raw ability and talent, I think Bagley is easily in the top 3 discussion if you want to talk about a big board or anything like that. ACC Player of the Year as well, consensus first-team All-American, the #1 overall prospect in the 2017 class for a reason. So the accolades are there. Now Bagley has to essentially convert that success for the Sacramento Kings at the NBA level. But he's going #2 overall. Let's go to #3 here on the list. We've got the Atlanta Hawks selecting Jaren Jackson Jr., power forward center out of Michigan State. He is expected to be the youngest player drafted at the age of 18. He's a 40% shooter from 3, 80% shooter from the charity stripe last season as well. He can block shots, switch screens. Jaren Jackson is the type of NBA player that GMs covet, the complete do-it-all type of big man, which we are seeing on a yearly basis here on display in the NBA, the Anthony Davises of the world, if you will. These guys are emerging, and they are emerging as franchise players. I also don't think the Hawks are exactly in a hurry here to be in the postseason conversation. They're not going to be. That I can tell you. Hawks fans, I'm sorry, they're just not. And so you got to play a little bit of a long game here as well, and drafting Jaren Jackson is going to be a little bit of a project. But he's a smart long-term investment. And so that's why I really like him slotted here at #3. He can step out and shoot from the outside. He can defend in space, protect the rim really well. Would be a fantastic complement, by the way, to big man John Collins, who has a similar type of game. So as with any 18-year-old, maturity comes into play. Mental toughness comes into play as well. Yes, those are very real concerns with Jaren Jackson. But he's 18. Like, just 2 years ago, he probably got his license. So you just kind of have to understand that it's going to take some time with somebody like that. So for the Hawks, they have the time because they're not contending next year. So I do like Jaren Jackson there at #3. All right, folks, it's shaping up to be an exciting summer. World Cup, U.S. Open this week, NBA draft next week. Make it even more exciting by playing games on FanDuel. FanDuel.com/chatsports is the way to go. Put your username in the comments section, and we will feature you live here on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. Just like Chris, he's on the show right now. He doesn't have Luka going in the top 3. No, I don't, Chris. I actually have him here at #4 overall, going to the Memphis Grizzlies. Great transition, though. So Doncic is finally off the board. Yes, I am not in the camp that he is going to go within the top 3. I firmly believe that. I like the other 3 players much more. But, yes, you can make the argument he is the most NBA-ready player in the draft, fresh off the EuroLeague title and a Final Four MVP honors at the age of 19. He's got good ability to make the reads as a ball handler, has a high floor in my eyes. Now, having an experienced player like Mike Conley here for the Memphis Grizzlies, I think helps a lot. He and Doncic can kind of split playmaking duties that way. Eventually, Conley, Marc Gasol can kind of usher in Doncic as that franchise player for the Grizzlies. Shot 45.6% from the field, 30.9% from 3, 80.1% from the free throw line across the pond there. He's a generational player, and I'm talking up this guy a lot, deservedly so, but I want to say again, I like the other 3 players ahead of him more than Luka Doncic. Now, getting him at #4 is still kind of a steal in a sense for the Memphis Grizzlies, and I think Doncic going to the Grizz would be a really nice play there, all right? So I think for the future for him, it's certainly bright, and on that team would be a fantastic pairing because I talked about Conley, talked about Gasol there. I think they do a really good job at mentoring him. All right, let's go to #5 here on the list. We got the Dallas Mavericks. I don't feel great about this selection, but Bamba is going to be selected inside the top 5, and it seems like the Mavericks have been searching for an anchor in the middle for quite some time. Bamba's a former 5-star recruit out of Westtown School in New York. He was the #3 overall prospect in the 2017 class. Averaged 3.7 blocks in 30 minutes per game with the Longhorns of Texas, 54% from the field, 68% from the free throw line. Second team All Big 12 honoree, named to the Big 12 All Defensive Team as well. Incredible length, defensive upside, perhaps brings some risk, but I think he also carries massive reward. He's a great rim protector, solid vertical ability as well. He's got the touch around the basket as well, but I think that might be one of his bigger weaknesses also. So he's continually getting better with that, and we'll keep in mind that, look, you don't need a big-time defensive rim-protecting center to win an NBA title. So I totally understand why people may say that Mo Bamba will go outside the top 5. But here is my mock draft right now so far, 1 through 5. Ayton to the Suns, Bagley to the Kings, Jaren Jackson to the Hawks, Luka goes to the Grizzlies, and we got Mo Bamba going to the Dallas Mavericks. Let's go to number 6 here, the Orlando Magic selecting, and they will get the point guard out of OU, Boomer Sooner, Trae Young. So I also think Bamba could make some sense here, but he's headed to the Mavericks, so with that, they go with Trae Young. The Magic are desperate for scoring, and perhaps a star point guard, to be honest with you. Insert Trae Young. He led the nation in points and assists per game. Now, some are saying he'll be Steph Curry 2.0. And to those people, let me just say, let's slow down just a tad. Steph Curry is a perennial all-star, NBA champion, should be NBA Finals MVP as well. That's a high comparison for a guy that I think has some bust potential here. We'll throw up a weigh-in for you guys about that as well. Be sure to let me know in terms of Trae Young and his bust potential, and hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99 about that as well. He's got good range. And let's see how that range kind of translates to the NBA. If you look at some of the tape, you saw some NBA type of shots from this guy. And that's what I like. And if you can kind of carry that momentum from the college ranks into the NBA, then Trae Young will be a successful player. There's no doubt about it. And I think the Magic are desperate for some sort of headline player. Trae Young can be that guy. Now, he is a bit of a risk, but I think he possesses high-end shooting ability, a little swagger that I think can compensate for his lack of physical gifts, maybe lack of defensive ability as well. But will Trae Young be a bust in the NBA? Be sure to hit me up. Let's go to number 7 here on my list, the Chicago Bulls. And with Chicago, they're going to go with Michael Porter Jr. out of Missouri. Absolute steal here for the Bulls. Injuries aside, Michael Porter is actually supposed to have a workout today. That's not going to happen. I'll have more on that here on the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel later. But Michael Porter Jr. has an incredible ceiling. And for the Chicago Bulls to get this guy at number 7 is really a fantastic turn of events for them, because a lot of people are thinking Michael Porter could go inside the top 4, inside the top 3. His skill set cannot be denied, and I think the Bulls do take a chance on this guy here. Great size, fluidity, shot-making ability off the dribble. Yes, there have been some negative headlines. Refusing to participate in the combine medical examinations and the postponement of his first pro day. Then you have the cancellation of today's planned pro day as well, and perhaps some question marks about his ability to be a good teammate. I get all of that. But for Porter to go at number 7, I think in terms of value, really good value. Again, assuming that he will be fine with his back injury and all of that. All right, so be sure to let me know about MPJ in the comments section. Let's go to number 8 here, the Cleveland Cavs via the Brooklyn Nets here. I've got Wendell Carter Jr., power forward center out of Duke. So he's not quite Marvin Bagley, but he's close. Shot 41% from 3 on limited attempts for a Duke team that, of course, advanced to the Elite 8 this past year. Has a lot of offensive versatility that I think the Cavs could use right now, especially if one LeBron James leaves. His feet are a little slow, and that usually doesn't bode well for the pick and roll. So he has to work on that. He also doesn't have the best vertical lift in the world, but that can improve as well. So Wendell Carter is not Marvin Bagley. That I'm just going to say right here, right now. But he gives the Cavs a skilled, long big who could end up being better than Bagley in terms of long-term investment. All right, especially if LeBron is gone. You got Wendell Carter, Kevin Love there as well, assuming Love isn't traded and all that. The Cavs start that rebuilding process. And if they start it with Wendell Carter, not a bad way to do it. All right, let's go to number 9 here on the list, the New York Knicks. Sorry, Knicks fans. Frank Ntilikina is not a point guard. He's just not. So they're getting Colin Sexton out of Alabama. So Sexton is your prototypical one-and-done star. Led the Crimson Tide of Alabama to the NCAA tournament, of course. He's super fast, super quick, extremely aggressive. Colin Sexton is the kind of guy that you game plan for if you're an opposing coach. That's what you want if you're the New York Knicks. You want Colin Sexton to strike fear into the eyes of opposing players on the hardwood and opposing coaches on the sidelines. So I love his work ethic. I love his ability to attack the rack as well. If I am an NBA GM and I'm looking at Colin Sexton on the tape and I see him and the way in which he goes to the basket, I say to myself, I want him on my team because that's what I want on the court. He's going to the New York Knicks at number 9. All right, and with that, let's go to number 10, the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll be selecting Mikal Bridges out of Villanova. So Bridges really helped his stock in his junior year with the Wildcats. He shot a career-best 43.5% from 3, 32 minutes per game in that span there on average. He's an unreal wing player, and if you watch the tape on him, he too can make the NBA shot. Talked about that with a couple of players here. Bridges can do that, and he's a fantastic catch-and-shoot prospect. Many say he's even the best in the draft. And if he goes to a 76ers team that is rapidly improving and will rapidly improve if it gets LeBron James, Mikal Bridges is just gravy at this point at number 10 overall for Philadelphia there. So I'll tell you what, watch out for the 76ers if they get Bridges and LeBron James because you have Embiid, you have Ben Simmons, you have a fantastic team, title contending type of franchise going forward into next year. So Bridges is there at number 10. Let's summarize the entire list that I have for my 2018 NBA mock draft. The top 10 selections, of course, the draft next week, June 21st. Deandre Ayton at number 1, Marvin Bagley at 2, Jaren Jackson goes at 3, there's Luka at 4, Bamba at 5. And then 6 through 10 here, Trae Young, Michael Porter Jr., Wendell Carter, Colin Sexton to the Knicks, and Mikal Bridges to the 76ers there at number 10. Be sure to grade that mock draft as well. I want your grades. You guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. It's time to talk LeBron James yet again. And LeBron James could perhaps do the classic opt-in and trade scenario, which we saw with Chris Paul and the Lakers. That's how he got to the Houston Rockets. And for LeBron James to do that, it's likely that he goes to a team that just can't afford him in regular free agency. Talking about the Houston Rockets, because the Houston Rockets would have to do some crazy stuff to sign LeBron James just in regular free agency. All right, so let's talk Houston here first in terms of trade scenarios. So for the Rockets to sign LeBron James in free agency, like I said, it would create salary cap chaos. Max salaries for James and Chris Paul plus James Harden would eat up more than $100 million of the estimated $128 million luxury tax apron. Don't forget about Clint Capella as well. So for the Rockets, their best bet is to do the trade. And here's the trade that I envision. It also allowed them to re-sign Clint Capella, Paul, and Trevor Ariza if they want to, and definitely want to bring back Chris Paul. So the Rockets would be required to send out at least $28.4 million in matching salary after the end of July moratorium, okay? So a package of Gordon, Aaron Jackson, all those players that were listed there make sense. And that would add up to actually $29.4 million, which is over the number that I just said in 28.4, which was the required amount. Now, yes, this could ultimately hurt the depth of the Houston Rockets roster and perhaps their three-point shooting. You could make that argument as well. I don't think Cleveland would sign off on just the players that you saw on that screen, so the Rockets are going to have to throw in draft considerations as well. So add in a couple of first-rounders to sweeten the deal, and boom, LeBron James is going to the Houston Rockets, and the Houston Rockets are a legit NBA Finals favorite. Probably could be the favorite if you're talking about Vegas here. So the Cavs deal LeBron James to the Houston Rockets. I think this is good for the Cavs in that they at least get compensation instead of letting LeBron James just walk into free agency and, say, signing with the LA Lakers. In this instance, the Cavs actually get a fair share of compensation. Really, the best part is the combination of draft picks there, 2019 and 2021 first-rounders, right? That's kind of what I am looking at if I am a Cavaliers front office member. Oh, okay, the first-rounders? All right, we'll take all those contracts and we'll set things up for the future, because if LeBron James is leaving the Cavs, you better believe that the Cleveland Cavaliers leadership is preparing to kind of rebuild a little bit here. So scenario number one is LeBron James going to the Houston Rockets. Now, of course, LeBron said he would not go to the White House if he were to win the NBA Finals because, well, President Trump recently said that he wasn't going to invite LeBron James, and LeBron said, well, I'm not going to go and all of that. So do you think President Trump should invite the World Cup champs to the White House? Because the World Cup is going on right now. Of course, the United States is not in it, but just for fun, I want you guys to weigh in on this. Hit me up in comments on Facebook Live as well as YouTube Live. Do you think the 45th President of the United States should invite the World Cup champions to the White House? France, Germany, Spain, Brazil, whatever the case may be sure to let me know. I want to hear your thoughts on the leader of the free world. But of course, I'm just joking, guys. We're all about jokes here on the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel, except when I'm talking about FanDuel itself, because this is very legit. And I'm joking that you could be the World Cup champ. I'm not joking that you could be the World Cup champ with FanDuel, of course. We've got several games going on here at Chat Sports with FanDuel. So put your username in the comments section, and we'll invite you guys to play. Sign up now at FanDuel.com/chatsports. You can play in our World Soccer Pick'em. Jordan Giorgio has several games going on right now, so it's very easy to play, very user-friendly. FanDuel.com/chatsports is the way to go. All right, continuing on here with our LeBron James discussion in terms of possible trades, let's talk Golden State Warriors. There is no way LeBron James can walk into free agency and sign with the Golden State Warriors. There's just no way. It just can't happen. So with that, we do have a trade scenario that perhaps could make some sense. So the Warriors can acquire LeBron James by doing the following: sending All-Star Klay Thompson, former NBA Finals MVP, of course, Andre Iguodala, and some draft considerations to the Cavs. The draft considerations are important because they sweeten the deal for the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that is planning on rebuilding if it does indeed deal LeBron James. So with that trade, Golden State would be able to retain Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Sean Livingston, Jordan Bell, Jones, and a restricted free agent, Patrick McCaw. Now, this deal wouldn't affect Kevin Durant as well. He'd still get paid, which is good news for them. So LeBron would be able to sign a 3-year extension in January, 6 months after the trade is completed. So all 4 years with the Warriors, it could equate to some $159.5 or $0.9 actually million. Now, all that said, do the Warriors really want LeBron James on their team? If a dynasty is currently at its peak, why do you rock the boat? And that's kind of what I'm asking here about the Golden State Warriors. They just won the NBA Finals. All is good in the world. So why change things up? They just won their 3rd NBA title in the last 4 years. They're at the peak of what they're doing. So continue to roll along with that. But, and I know a lot of people out there are thinking, well, maybe he could go to Golden State, and LeBron looks really good in a Golden State Warriors jersey. I understand that. And really, the main reason why I'm talking about this is because the Warriors are, all things considered, a favorite by Vegas right now. They're inside the top 6 or 7 in terms of the favorites to land LeBron James. They're not in the top 5 or anything like that. So, yeah, maybe there's an argument to be made that the Spurs make more sense here, or a team like that, Boston Celtics, etc. But the Warriors have been up there in the discussions. So, with that, wanted to talk about a possible trade that could go down. Now, the Boston Celtics could also make a trade for LeBron James. Now, both teams, talking about the Celtics and the Cavs, would have to match salaries, which would be easier with Gordon Hayward involved rather than someone like a Kyrie Irving. So it's LeBron James for Gordon Hayward, Marcus Morris, and a first-rounder. All right, so that is the trade there involving the Boston Celtics. Hayward would no doubt become the Cavs franchise player, and Kevin Love would, of course, be a nice compliment. Yes, Hayward played just 5 minutes with the Celtics, but I'm not going to underestimate the aggressiveness of GM Danny Ainge here, because remember when he shipped off Isaiah Thomas after battling through an injured hip in last year's playoffs? In Ainge's eyes, the Celtics don't owe anything to Hayward compared to Isaiah Thomas, right? So that's why I'm not underestimating the GM of the Boston Celtics here. And if LeBron really doesn't care about the whole Kyrie Irving feud and everything that went down with that, then heck, I could see this happening. I actually think this is more likely than the Golden State Warriors. If I had to power rank the likelihood of these trades, I think it's Houston here, I think it's a couple ticks down the Boston Celtics, and then way down at the floor, you can't even see my hand, the Golden State Warriors, because it's just not going to happen. Free agency or via the trade. So Boston Celtics, very real possibility there. Now, we'll see what happens in terms of LeBron James. Could he opt in and could he be traded? Sure, but I think he's going to the LA Lakers. I've said it a million times here on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. I do want to hear from you guys on all the topics that I discuss here on the show today. All right, let's get into the latest NBA rumors here on the program. We will start things off with Kevin Huerter, perhaps going to the LA Lakers via the draft. So the report is the Lakers may have promised Huerter he would be the number 25 overall pick, guard out of Maryland, of course. 6'3" or 6'7" guard from Maryland. And in 2017, 50.3% from the floor, averaged 15 points per game. He's a great player who can stretch the floor really well. He commanded a lot of games for the Terps, as I watched him with my own eyes being on campus there many times. And this report came out shortly after Huerter said he needs hand surgery. So the timing of both of these kind of news items here is very interesting. It's been debated whether the Lakers knew about the hand surgery before promising Huerter the pick. Now, there have been some reports also that maybe the Lakers go Mitchell Robinson at number 25 overall. And if Kevin Huerter was promised number 25 and he doesn't get it, yikes, could get a little dicey there. So there you go. That's rumor number 1 here across the NBA. Let's get to the next one on the list. Could Paul George perhaps stay with the Oklahoma City Thunder? There's actually a good chance of this actually happening. So George said his past season's final results won't impact his free agency decision. In April, he made it clear the final result of the season, quote, wouldn't persuade or indicate where I'm going this offseason. He has gotten closer with Russell Westbrook, so keep that in mind. Now, he could re-sign a 5-year deal worth $175 to $180 million, including $30 million in that first season there. There's very real talk of George teaming up with LeBron James with the LA Lakers, and I think that is the favorite in my eyes in terms of what could actually happen with Paul George. Could he re-sign with the Oklahoma City Thunder? Sure, absolutely. But I actually think it's more likely he goes to the Lakers. I really do believe that, and I'm sure he's texting LeBron James right now. You better believe that. All right, let's get to the next rumor on the list. Kawhi Leonard staying with the San Antonio Spurs. So Leonard could be signed to a 5-year, $219 million Supermax contract. That is a very real possibility. Now, discussions between him and the team are being described as still in the planning stages, according to Woj. Also saying, quote, they'll have to talk about medical care and treatment. They'll have to talk about Leonard's relationship with the coaching staff and his teammates, which is currently strained. And we all know that. Kawhi Leonard did not play very much last year. Didn't play at all in the playoffs. We were wondering forever when he was actually going to return. Never ended up doing so. So perhaps there is a relationship that needs to be repaired between the San Antonio Spurs leadership and Kawhi Leonard. We'll see what happens there. All right, we got a comment coming in from Mike at Cam Rogers, Jello Ball likelihood joining the Lakers. Very interesting comment there. We appreciate you chiming in here, Mike. And I'll tell you what, not very likely. Like, it's not going to happen at all. I don't even think he's going to get drafted, to be honest with you. So the Lakers did actually bring him in for a workout, so take that with what you wish, Mike. But at the end of the day, I really don't think it's going to happen. So, yeah. And by the way, if it does happen, that's a big if, LeBron ain't going to L.A. That'll tell you, because he doesn't want the circus. All right, folks, you guys are watching the Cam Rogers Show, and thanks to FanDuel for sponsoring the program today. Here's a look at the leaderboard through one round. I'm beating all 19 of y'all in my U.S. Open Challenge. As you see the leaderboard there on your screen, I've got a hefty lead here over DJ Vuchains and Victoria Charlin. Shout out to Victoria. Sign up today on FanDuel.com/chatsports, and I've got a Cam special for you. Receive a bonus on your first deposit for immediate play. Message us your username in the comment section here on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. We'll make sure you get a free $10. Free. Everybody loves free. FanDuel.com/chatsports. All right, let's continue along here in the latest NBA rumors. Are the Kings drafting Michael Porter Jr.? That is the latest buzz out there. And a back injury has been haunting MPJ during his time at Mizzou and also during his time as he goes through these workouts, right? Getting ready for the draft. So Porter canceled a workout plan for today in Chicago. Luka, Doncic, and Marvin Bagley are also being considered by the Kings. So a lot of buzz that the Kings could go in many different directions here. Yeah, Porter is going to have to battle through this adversity with this back injury here. We'll get to this rumor about canceling his second pro day today as well. ESPN.com said Porter couldn't get out of bed due to muscle spasms. That's legit stuff, folks. And back injuries are very unpredictable. You never know when they're going to show up and make a major impact in your long-term health. And for Michael Porter Jr., I have him going at number 7 to the Chicago Bulls. I think he slips a little bit, relative term, considering this guy is potentially a top 3 selection. Now, likely going to go through some evaluations today to see how he is. The general consensus among GMs out there across the NBA is that Michael Porter Jr. will be okay. That for long-term health reasons and prognoses, he will be fine. Now, would you want your team to draft Michael Porter Jr.? Let me know in this reaction poll. Give me a heart for yes, a like for no way. All right, next rumor here on the list is Greg Popovich retiring after the 2020 season. He may not coach the Spurs after the 2020 Olympics, to be more specific. Also possible he may spend 2019 to 2020 preparing for the Olympics, so 2018 to 2019 could be his final season with the Spurs. Of course, named the head coach of the U.S. men's basketball national team in 2015, the successor to Mike Krzyzewski, Duke's head coach there. Popovich has coached the Spurs since the 1996 to 1997 season, has led the team to 21 consecutive postseason appearances, career regular season record of 1,197 to 541. You want to talk about a storied career. Greg Popovich definitely qualifies. 5th all-time in wins, 4th all-time in winning percentage, a 5-time NBA champion, 3-time coach of the year. Now, let me say this. If LeBron James goes to the San Antonio Spurs, that throws a wrench into all of what I just said. Because if LeBron is there in San Antonio, Greg Popovich ain't retiring anytime soon, even after the 2020 Olympics. Okay, he's staying as long as LeBron James is there, because they will continue to be title contenders if that is the case. And a lot of people in the comment section on the Cam Rogers Show, presented by FanDuel, have been saying that the Spurs are a very real destination. And I think so. I really do. Plus 1,000 odds. But outside of that, you look at Greg Popovich and that rumor that he may be meeting up with LeBron James this summer. You look at the fact that Kawhi Leonard could be remaining there with a big fat max contract. And you take a look at LeBron James joining and teaming up with Kawhi. Could be one of the better front courts in the NBA, perhaps the best front court in the NBA. Very debatable, but still very possible as well. So keep that in mind there. All right, let's get to the next funny rumor, I guess you could say, on the list. Mike Bibby, guys, is like Jack now. He was around 190 pounds during his 14 seasons in the NBA. Now I feel like he could star for the sequel of The Pacifier and play as Vin Diesel, honestly. Everyone on social media is flipping out about this picture that has surfaced out there thanks to the Sacramento Kings, where Bibby spent most of his career. He is jacked. Look at him. He is cut. And by the way, you hear about these stories with players after their professional careers kind of getting fat a little bit and adding on some pounds, because actually, guys, professional athletes typically don't eat that well, but they're like burning 8,000 calories a day, so it doesn't even matter. And into the afterlife, when they stop working out as much and burning as many calories, they get a little fatter, if you will. Not the case with Bibby. Shout out to him for getting jacked. I want to know what supplements he's taking, what his workout regimen is. I need his agent's phone number right now. Somebody go and research that for me. Put it in the comments section, because I'm hitting up that agent, because I want to get jacked like Mike Bibby there. You're swole, Mike. You're swole, and that's all the credit I'm going to give to you right now. It's like that stands for itself in terms of the achievements, because, like I said, there have been many stories before of athletes, not looking so great after they retire. So do you wish you were as swole as Mike Bibby? I certainly do. Give me a heart for sure. Give me a like for I'm good. Here's the picture one more time. Sacramento, on a scale of 1 to 10, how jacked is Mike Bibby? I think that could just be a quasi weigh-in right now, folks. Answer the Sacramento Kings. Hit me up in the comments section. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. And for a guy who was 190 pounds on average during his NBA career, and seeing him like that, kudos to you, Mike. Now, I just hope it's natural. That's all I'll say. All right, so there you go. You're watching the Cam Rogers Show here, presented by FanDuel. I am Cam Rogers, and I'm alongside our resident fantasy analyst, Mitchell Renz, here on the program. Mitchell, it's been a long time for you, my man. Welcome.
What's up, buddy? How's it going? I'm excited to be on here, excited to talk fantasy football. We're getting right into that time of the year where the real fantasy freaks and geeks start to come out, and this is the best time of the year for me.
And you're a big-time FanDuel fan as well, so it's great that they're sponsoring the show.
Oh, I was ready and super psyched when I heard that FanDuel's sponsoring the show. The fact that I get to talk about fantasy football and FanDuel, if you're not playing on FanDuel, I don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely. We'll talk about FanDuel as we go through these rankings here, Mitch, because you have your top 5 fantasy running backs. We'll start things off with number 5. The Offensive Rookie of the Year, Alvin Kamara, Mitch. He's an electric player, and with Mark Ingram out those first 4 games, talk about more touches for Kamara.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints came out and they said that they don't know if they're going to give him more touches, but Cam, I don't know if he necessarily needs them. Remember when Jamal Charles was just an absolute fantasy stud? Well, I think that's what we're going to get with a guy like Alvin Kamara. I mean, he didn't have a single game last year where he had over 20 touches, and he didn't have a single game where he had more than 13 carries. But when you average 6.1 yards per carry and you're on an amazing offense, that's going to lead to a lot of fantasy points. He led all running backs in receiving yards last year with 826. This guy is super electric. And Mark Ingram's been in Sean Payton's doghouse before, and if that continues, a breakout season, even bigger, could be happening for Kamara, who also scored 14 total touchdowns last year.
Now, FanDuel does a half PPR type of format here, Mitch.
Yes, sir.
And so Kamara can certainly receive the football out of the backfield with the best of them out there. So great value in FanDuel, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going to get a guy who can catch the ball, and then when you can break the big plays, that's the kind of guy who's going to get you a heavy, like, paycheck when it comes to FanDuel, because Kamara has those big weeks. And when he has that big week, you're going to be making a lot of money.
All right, so Alvin Kamara with a big-time year back in 2017. Let's go to number 4. This guy we didn't really see much of. In fact, it was just a few snaps, honestly, in Week 1. David Johnson, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. So with that, Mitch, we have 2016 stats here, thanks to FanDuel. David Johnson, when healthy, he's a top 5 running back, easy, Mitch, like in fantasy and reality. Oh,
you could make the argument he's the best, most talented running back in the league when he's completely healthy. So last year, 1 game, 11 carries, 23 yards, but 6 catches for 67 yards, and you say, okay, he's going to get involved in the offense. Let's not forget, Cam, how amazing he was in 2016. 1,239 yards, 16 touchdowns, plus 80 catches for 879 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's 2,100 yards and 20 touchdowns. From a FanDuel standpoint, Cam, that's 367 FanDuel points. You remember how good Todd Gurley was last year?
He was great.
Todd Gurley didn't score as many points in 2017 as David Johnson did in 2016. Let's not sleep on a guy like David Johnson, because this dude is legit.
The Cardinals also made some improvements to that offensive line as well. They bring in Justin Pugh. They have Mike Iupati coming back, so we can't ignore that. And by the way, this is weird to say, but the arm threat of Sam Bradford might actually soften up the box a little bit, because Sam Bradford's a good quarterback when he's playing.
But he's also a guy I think could check it down to a guy like David Johnson, who he had 80 catches, David Johnson. There's no reason why on that team, again, he couldn't have another 80 catches.
Okay, all right. So David Johnson's there at number 4. Let's get to number 3 here on the list. Zeke, will he be eaten this year, Mitch?
I think he's going to be eaten a lot, and I think it's hard to argue that he's not going to be eating so much. So, Zeke, in only 10 games last year, Cam, right? This is a guy who averaged 19.4 FanDuel points per game. And over the last 2 years, he's averaged 19.87 FanDuel points per game. I understand he's missed 6 games last year, but Zeke has just been an absolute monster when he's played, right? So, last season, he averaged 98.3 rushing yards per game. That was the most in the NFL. The guy who was in second, Todd Gurley, who you're going to hear later, averaged 87 rushing yards per game, okay? That's a 16-game pace, Cam, for 1,573 yards. Kareem Hunt led the NFL last year in rushing with only 1,327 yards. So Zeke, when he's playing, he's eating, and the Cowboys are going to feed him. And here's another stat that just absolutely blows my mind. Ezekiel Elliott, Cam, has played in 25 career games. Do you know how many touchdowns he has?
20?
25.
Wow.
He has 22 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns. This guy, when he plays, scores touchdowns. They're going to feed him the ball. They just got rid of Dez and Witten. That could mean even more receptions for a guy like Zeke. And Dak Prescott's 2 longest passing touchdowns, both to Zeke. Zeke can do it all.
I mean, you're not going to be throwing the football to Deontay Thompson, Allen Hurns, Cole Beasley, Mitch. You're going to be running the rock with Zeke.
Oh, and I hope they're going to run the rock a ton. I mean, this was a guy who scored 190 fantasy point or FanDuel points last year in 10 games. Like this, when he plays, he is a no doubt top 3 running back. I tweeted out, humble plug right here for me, Mitchell Renz 365, that Zeke, don't sleep on him as being the #1 running back in fantasy football. In standard leagues for FanDuel, you don't sleep on this guy because he is, you could argue, the most talented running back in the NFL.
When you talk fantasy football, Mitch, you got to talk about opportunity. And the depth chart for the Dallas Cowboys is very thin. So after Zeke, there's nobody. So with Zeke getting all the carries, let's talk about that offensive line, too. Zach Martin just got paid. He's the best guard in the NFL. You got Travis Frederick, Tyron Smith on that left side as well. You're not throwing the football at all. Your game plan is to run the rock. It's all there. Mitch, it's going to be interesting to see, to track here, how the fantasy mock drafts go throughout the summer. Will Zeke be the top running back off the board?
I think he's just going to be, for me, he's a no doubt top 3 pick right now in the draft. And I mean, it's hard to argue that. I mean, when you just look at the overall team, I think Dak Prescott even kind of gets slept on a little bit. Dak Prescott, when Ezekiel Elliott has played, and when he played last year, the first 8 weeks of the season, was a top 5 quarterback. So I think Dak's a guy that a lot of people are sleeping on, but Zeke, I'm telling you, he's going to be eating a lot, and I hope I could actually have an eating competition with Zeke. That'd be dope.
We'll continue to flash the comments at the bottom of your screen, so be sure to hit us up. I have a feeling, Mitch, you're going to get called out by one representative of Raider Nation that Marshawn Lynch should be inside the top 5. I think that's my guy Mike chiming in. Mitch, Marshawn Lynch, is he there?
Top 5? No, but Marshawn was really good. He averaged 5.2 yards per carry the last final 5 weeks of the season last year. 10 short of leading the league in the last 5 weeks. So I like Marshawn. Hey, I cover the Raiders in the Raiders Report. Check out our new YouTube channel, Raiders Report.
There's Mike.
Oh, Mike, what up, man? Yeah. I like Marshawn, but he's not in this list. Sorry, homie.
Yeah, he's not inside the top 2. I'll give you some love, though, Mike. I have the Raiders as a breakout team in 2018. Good offensive line, like Derek Carr a lot, like the wide receivers, too. So shout out to you, my friend. Let's go to number 2 here, Mitch. Le'Veon Bell. And first of all, he's got to figure out the contract situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's been holding out. He's not going to be at training camp most likely. So there is the concern for me, Mitch, especially if I'm playing FanDuel in week 1 and 2, respectively. He could be a little rusty.
Well, he wasn't rusty last year, and he basically sat out the entire offseason. And when you're just as talented as Le'Veon Bell and you're on a team like the Steelers, I don't know how he's not just a slam dunk pick. So we talk about the term cowbell, running back. It's a Le'Veon Bell. Like, Le'Veon Bell last year, 406 touches. It was the most in the NFL. No other running back had over 350. So then, okay, this guy's going to be getting that work. He had the second most FanDuel points last year with 299. And then over the last 2 years, Cam, he's averaged 21.3 FanDuel points per game. Over the last 2 years, he has scored 661 FanDuel points, okay?
A lot of money, a lot of cash.
Yeah, a lot of cash. Next closest guy, Todd Gurley, with only 541. Then it's LaShawn McCoy with 518, and then Devonta Freeman, 499. The last 2 years, Le'Veon Bell has just been an absolute slam dunk guy for FanDuel, fantasy football, and when you just talk about a guy who just can catch the ball, can run the ball, yeah, he is more than just a running back. He is just an absolute freak, and I don't blame him for wanting to get paid because this dude is special.
All right, so Le'Veon Bell hoping for a contract extension. He's at number 2 on the list here for Mitchell Renz's top 5 fantasy football running backs. All right, folks, let's get to number 1 on the list, Todd Gurley. Mitchell, your top running back.
Yeah, and Todd Gurley was an absolute stud last year. It's the reason why he won Offensive Player of the Year, and he scored 351 FanDuel points. And he sat out Week 17. Exactly. So, like, if he would have played Week 17 when he was absolutely balling out, yeah, he probably would have obviously scored more. He led the NFL in total touchdowns last year with 19, Cam. I said before, Alvin Kamara scored 14. Well, one of those was special teams. So, just in terms of on-the-field play, 13 touchdowns for Kamara. And then you look at a guy like Gurley who had 19. But the reason why Gurley is my number 1 running back is just because of how absolutely dominant he was down the stretch of the season last year. And I mean, the Rams, I think, got better on defense. They're probably going to run the ball even more. And they got better on offense, I think, too. So, for me, Todd Gurley is just an absolute monster.
The Rams got better everywhere, Mitch.
Yeah.
Honestly. They went wild in the free agency period, had a solid draft as well. Todd Gurley is going to be sneakily valuable in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield as well, I think.
Oh, yeah, but the reason why Todd Gurley, I think, should be the number 1 running back for fantasy football this year was the way he finished the season. So, Cam, listen to these numbers.
So it's momentum. We're talking momentum.
Momentum with the way they finished the season, or his final 6 games of the season. That's including the playoff game and the last 5 weeks that he played. 106 carries, 615 yards, plus 30 catches, 373 yards, and he had 8 touchdowns, okay? If you take those numbers from a full 16-game season, that's 2,635 total yards and 21 touchdowns. The most total yards ever in a season is Chris Johnson with 2,509.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good Gurley was.
Production. You got to love it. All right, folks, it's time for you to weigh in our FanDuel reaction poll. Who's the best fantasy football running back for the 2018 season? Is it Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott? Give us a like, laughing face, and heart, respectively. Mitch, obviously, you're throwing up your thumb.
Yeah, I'm giving my thumb up here for Gurley. Gurley's my dude. He's giving me a few retweets on Twitter, and he's an absolute stud. So I love me some Todd Gurley.
You know what, Mitch? I'm going to jump on with you. I think Todd Gurley will be the best running back in fantasy football in 2018. I'm drinking the LA Rams Kool-Aid. I think they will be a legit threat to make it to the Super Bowl. And in terms of fantasy football, Good offensive line, John Sullivan there at center, Whitworth at left tackle. It's all there for the LA Rams to be really successful in reality and fantasy as well, my friend. All right, folks, you guys have been watching the Cam Rogers Show presented by FanDuel. That's Mitchell Renz. Hit him up, Mitchell Renz 365. I am Cam Rogers. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Rogers99. Don't worry, guys. I'll be back here Monday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Might have this guy as well. So we'll see you then.